Do you ever go to work and they like make fun mandatory? Yeah? Like you have to go to the Christmas party, it's going to be fun. You have to go. Well, one thing I didn't think about when I moved out of the maintenance shed and into, to be fair, an actual house, is that my workplace can now get hold of me, which they haven't been able to do for 16 years, but that was fine. I was okay with that. But now I've got to do the mandatory fun. Um, and now Christmas is coming, so Secret Santa. I have to do Secret Santa. I tried to tell them how pointless it was for me to do Secret Santa, but it's corporate policy. I have to do it. I work for them. So, we're going to do Secret Santa. Ready? Let's see who I get. Oh, it's me. Okay, that silliness aside, let's get on with the real reason I'm here, which is this brand new Silent Night, Deadly Night remake that came out about a day or so ago as of this recording. Second time that the franchise has been remade. The first remake was in 2012 and it was just named Silent Night. And I say remake, it's kind of a loose term, really, when it comes to that film. If you see the previous episode, I've actually discussed that entire franchise, its ups and its many, 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 many downs. Uh, for my money, the 2012 Silent Night is actually one of the stronger entries, not necessarily because it's smart or intelligent or even has a plot, really, but because it's just 90 minutes or so of pure, crunchy, gory goodness that doesn't really pretend to be anything else other than that. Um, the backstory of the killer never really comes up, and by the time it does, it's like the last frame of the film. It's just there for a good time and a short time. Um, I think it could be argued that the original Silent Night, Deadly Night is the best film in the franchise, and I wouldn't fight that if somebody wanted to make that argument. I could concede to that. Um, this new one definitely starts as if it is a more faithful remake of the original film than the 2012 reboot. We have Billy as our protagonist, same name as the character from the original movie. He goes to see his granddad in a care home with his parents. His parents are attacked at the side of the road by a guy dressed in a Santa costume. They've done away with his baby brother, who became the killer in the second movie. I say movie, I use the term movie very loosely. So in this new film, it's just Billy, and his parents are gunned down pretty quickly. Um, so you start to think, oh, okay, maybe I know this film, maybe I know where this film's going. The backstory is actually presented to us through flashbacks. So, unlike the original movie that took maybe 2 acts to get to the point where our protagonist turned into the Santa slasher, this new film, he's already there from the start. You get a little bit of the backstory with his parents, and then boom, you're straight to him dressed as Santa having killed somebody. I'm not going to go into spoiler territory for the film because there's definitely spoilers that can be given for what is a schlocky B movie. But the backstory is given to you through a series of flashbacks. Now you might be wondering to yourself as you're watching the film, why are they giving me these flashbacks and bits and pieces? I've seen the original movie. I know where the story's going. You'd be wrong. The story goes in a very unique, very different direction that actually puts it more in line with some of the kooky straight to VHS sequels in the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. It doesn't just take the road of a straight boy turns into a crazed maniac plot, although it definitely gives you that to start with. When we meet Billy in this film, he's already a killer, and he already wears the Christmas outfit and already stabs and kills and gets his murder on, which is a lot faster paced than the first film in the franchise was. Um, In the original movie, Billy, as I say, slowly becomes the killer over time. You kind of slowly see the things that make him turn into the Santa slasher that he becomes. In this new film, he's a lot more methodical. He doesn't just snap. In that original movie, all of these things happen to him, and then he just can't take it anymore. He has to kill people. Been there. Maybe they made him do Secret Santa by himself at his workplace. In this new film, it's a lot more preordained or premeditated, rather. You know, he's got 24 days on his advent, and he has to kill people of those 24 days of December. Why does he have to kill those people? You will find out, and the film will get there. But for now, he is a maniac with an axe and a Santa costume, and that's what he has to do. So it's a lot less of a knee-jerk reaction to being in a bad situation, and it's more a case of a premeditated ritual that he has to go through. And that gives the film a little bit of an edge, sort of a different flavor to it. This is no longer just somebody snapping in a bad situation. This is somebody that has decided, I need to put a Santa outfit on and I need to kill people, possibly with an axe. Billy also has voices in his head in this installment, which separates it from the other installments. There is a separate actor that's playing the kind of killer, for a lack of a better term, in his head, telling him to go and kill that guy or go and kill this guy, not this guy. That makes the film stand out a little bit more from previous entries, gives it a little bit of a unique flavor to it. And it also means that Billy can talk about his murders without having to openly discuss them with the people in the film that he's obviously trying to hide this from. So it gives the film a bit of a unique dynamic in that he's kind of talking to a schizophrenic self. Now, the casting I actually thought was quite smart. Billy's played by Rohan Campbell, who we know from Halloween Ends, which is the final film in David Gordon Green's Halloween reboot sequel trilogy. Yeah. And he gets a bit of a bad rep in that film because that film made sort of narrative choices that I don't think people were prepared for, and that includes me. In Halloween Ends, he plays essentially the lead character, Corey Cunningham. However, that's the last film in a 50-year series. It's the last film at the end of a trilogy. And nowhere in the marketing did his character appear, as it all focused on Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie having a showdown with Michael Myers. So when audiences got into the cinema and were suddenly presented with this Corey Cunningham character that becomes the de facto lead of the entire movie, I think they felt a bit blindsided. I know I definitely did. I don't think the idea in that film was necessarily bad, having a character come in and sort of pick up the baton of Michael Myers, be absorbed by evil, influenced by the evils of the town. I don't think that was necessarily a bad idea. I just think its placement at the end of a trilogy without any previous introduction to that character was probably not the smartest way to plan that out. Had that character been peppered in the first and second film, or even just the second film, I think we'd be a little bit better prepared for when that eventuality happened. As it was, audiences were a little bit blindsided. Now, that's not Rohan's fault. He played the part perfectly well. And I think casting him in this is quite smart for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is that Halloween Ends has a bit of a cult following now, because it didn't do what was kind of supposed to be doing, the established order of things. So because it did things a little bit differently, it has its own cult following. Now, Silent Night, Deadly Night is a film made specifically for a cult following. So to cast somebody that is already coming out of a cult movie to be in a cult movie, that's pretty smart. Secondly, it gives Rohan Campbell another slasher credential. So if he ends up doing horror conventions, which I'm sure he'll probably end up doing at some point, or Comic-Cons and that kind of thing, he's got another slasher character to, knock his asking price up for autographs and photos. So that's a nice little earner for him. The third reason I think it's a very good idea is because if Rohan Campbell continues to play horror characters or slasher characters specifically, audiences will start to get used to him being in that genre. And future generations, when they come back to revisit Halloween Ends, and I think they will continue to revisit Halloween Ends because it's a substantial slasher franchise, Um, they will already recognize Rohan from, oh, he was in Silent Night, Deadly Night, and he was in this other film, and he was in that other film, this horror film, and that horror film. So when he turns out to be the lead character of that movie, all of a sudden, they'll be sort of climatized to it through years of his other work. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. This film is edited in a very unique way. It has kind of these almost video game objective titles pop up whenever Billy decides he's going to kill someone. So they become like missions. Um, it's tacky, but it's not terrible. You know, it's enjoyably tacky. It's a little bit grindhouse. Kill Dave, kill Steve, kill the bag woman or whatever it is. Comes up in big splatter letters. Like I say, it's kind of video game-ish, but it's the right side of B movie. Now, for the reason that many of us are here, gore. Um, this film is touted as from the producers of the Terrifier trilogy, um, which obviously gives you a certain expectation before you go in the cinema. Now, I've sort of made my opinion on the Terrifier franchise more clear on my letterbox than anywhere else. I had a bit of a discussion about it in the last episode. But that franchise is obviously well known for being overtly gory, almost too much. Well, not even almost, significantly too much. That's exactly why people enjoy it. So I was surprised to go into this new Silent Night, Deadly Night and get very little, really, in terms of gore, particularly in terms of impactful and fun gore. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some practical gags in there. A leg will come off here, an axe goes through a head there. But none of it really left me with a sense of, air punching enjoyment. It was just kind of perfunctionary. There's a big sequence in the film, which is, I assume, the film's biggest set piece. It's definitely presented as such. And it's kind of at the midway point, and it's a turning point for the audience where they start to think of the Billy character as maybe not just a straight up psychopathic murderer. It kind of, you slowly start to come around to his side, despite the fact that he's, chopping people up with an axe. And it's during a big scene that I don't want to spoil for you, but it takes place around the center of the film. And it's presented as kind of funny. It's presented as a joke. And when it started in the cinema and that kind of video game objective screen came up with Billy's new objective on there, I had a genuine giggle, and I was anticipating this big sort of gory, fun, enjoyable massacre that was about to happen. And then I didn't really get it. Like, the scene happens, but it's shot in such a kind of shaky, haphazard way, and it's edited in a way where every kind of axe strike is cut away from, and there's so many Santa people dressed as Santa, sorry, in one room that it's difficult to see what's going on at any given time. It's a mess, and that really sort of took me out of the film a little bit, because that was supposed to be its big, jokey, gory, fun B movie moment, and it was kind of shot and edited so abruptly and haphazardly that I didn't get to enjoy it as much as I think the filmmakers wanted me to. I was definitely expecting a lot of gore in that scene. I was expecting heads and arms and feet and everything to come off in a fun, silly way. And I think maybe a leg, maybe a bit of intestine for like half a second. And that was it. And I was a little bit disappointed in it, unfortunately. In terms of plotting, it's quite easygoing for the most part. It's mostly just Billy working at this shop and kind of having a hopeful relationship with the girl that works there, and that's basically it. Only straying from that in order for him to go and kill this person, kill that person, kill this person, and obviously keep that information to himself. Unfortunately for the movie, it does start to do something really sort of wacky and interesting, but it only really does it just as it's starting to wrap up. So the film's just kind of trundling along for two acts with, just basic gore effects and practical effects and a very basic story. And we're sort of in the dark a little as to why this guy is killing people dressed as Santa. By the time those things are revealed to you, your film's kind of wrapping up and it's almost over. I was entertained enough. There's references to the franchise in this. I mean, obviously, it's a remake of the original film, so the character names and some of the plotting is obviously a reference to the first film, the Santa outfit and the axe. There's also a number of kills that are straight up references from that first movie as well. Um, the garbage day line from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 rears its ugly head once again. There are two other films that this film reminded me of by the time the credits went up, and a TV show actually as well. Unfortunately, it's impossible for me to tell you what those are without kind of spoiling where the plot goes. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to spoil that. I'm going to tell you what those three properties are. So if you want to go into Silent Night, Deadly Night cold, this might be the time to walk away, click somewhere else, whatever it is you need to do. So the three things that this film reminded me of was Bill Paxton's film Frailty, which not too many people have seen, mostly because it hasn't had much of a home video release, like a Blu-ray release or anything like that. But it reminded me a lot of that film. He also uses an axe in that film as well. It reminded me of the Unbreakable movie with Bruce Willis that eventually became a franchise with Glass and Split, or Split and Glass. And it also reminded me of the TV show Dexter as well. So it does go in a kind of a unique direction for the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, but it's making some moves that we've kind of seen before elsewhere. Although it definitely makes them in a much schlockier B-movie, nudge, nudge, wink, wink kind of way, whereas those other films and TV shows tend to take themselves a little bit more seriously. How do I wrap this up? I'd put it third in the franchise for those people that are interested in a Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, which aren't many, but for those of you that are, I know you're dedicated. So for me, it will be the Silent Night 2012 remake, which I don't think is a phenomenal film, but I definitely think is a fun 90 minutes of schlock. The original movie, which is the original, and just, gets a higher ranking for simply having a great concept. And then this one. And that's how they go for me. And then all the others can fight themselves out way down at the bottom of the garbage pile. I know some people enjoy the silliness of those straight to VHS entries, and fair play to those people. But for me, it's Santa Slasher, Santa Slasher, Santa Slasher, you know, killer toys and bug cults. And I can't even remember what the other one was about. Don't even know what he wants.